Cowboys ain't easy to love and they're hard.
Some of the biggest songs in country music history weren't born in fancy studios. They were scribbled on napkins, dictated in a moving car, or built from a single throwaway phrase nobody thought twice about.
Staring out the window at the darkness.
These are the stories they never put on the greatest hits liner notes. The ones hiding behind the chords, the chart positions, and the legends we thought we already knew. Welcome to Old Trails Archive, where today we're pulling 10 country number ones off the shelf and telling you exactly how they got there. Number 10, Convoy, C.W. McCall, 1975. The artist, who recorded one of the biggest country hits of the 1970s, was never a real person, and the man behind him was an advertising executive who swore he would never write country music.
For Bear on I-10 about a mile out of Shaky Town.
Bill Fries was an art director at an Omaha ad agency in 1972 when he invented a fictional truck driver named C.W. McCall to sell bread for a regional bakery. The commercials were so popular that newspapers started printing their air times, like actual TV shows. Fries and jingle writer Chip Davis, who later founded Mannheim Steamroller, spun the character into a record deal with MGM. Then in 1975, riding the peak of a national CB radio craze, Fries wrote Convoy, a rolling protest of trucks told entirely in CB slang. It hit number one on the country chart for 6 weeks, crossed to number one on the Hot 100, and sold over 7 million copies worldwide. The man behind the fake trucker eventually retired from music and was elected mayor of a small Colorado mountain town. A bread commercial, a character that never existed, 7 million records. That's Convoy.
Yeah, we got a little old Convoy. Ain't she a beautiful sight?
Number 9, Your Cheatin' Heart, Hank Williams, 1953. Hank Williams wrote this song in a moving car, in the dark, while driving to meet his future in-laws, and he was dead before it ever hit number one. It was late 1952. Williams had just divorced his first wife, Audrey, and was on the road with his new fiancée, Billie Jean Jones, headed to her parents' home in Louisiana to announce their engagement. Somewhere on that drive, he muttered something about Audrey, called her a cheatin' heart. He looked at Billie Jean and said, "Hey, that'd make a good song. Get out my tablet, baby. You and I are going to write us a song." She recalled he dictated the entire song in minutes, as fast as she could write.
But sleep won't come.
Williams recorded it on September 23, 1952, his last ever studio session. On New Year's Day, 1953, his driver found him dead in the back seat of a car on the way to a concert in Ohio. Your Cheatin' Heart was released 3 weeks after his death and became one of the most covered songs in country music history, recorded by artists from Ray Charles to Patsy Cline. He wrote it in the dark on a tablet handed to him by the woman he loved. He never saw it reach number one.
You cry and cry.
Number 8, A Boy Named Sue, Johnny Cash, 1969.
Well, my daddy left home when
Johnny Cash had never rehearsed this song. He performed it live in a prison yard, reading the lyrics off a piece of paper on the floor. And it became his biggest pop hit of all time.
Oh, could name me Sue. Well, I knew that.
A week before San Quentin, Cash hosted one of Nashville's famous guitar pulls at his home. That night, Chris Christopherson played Me and Bobby McGee. Bob Dylan debuted Lay, Lady Lay, and children's author Shel Silverstein sang a comic poem about a boy whose deadbeat father named him Sue. Cash thought it was the cleverest song he'd ever heard and asked Silverstein to write the words down. He tucked that lyric sheet in his bag and never rehearsed it once.
Now, I don't blame him cause he running ahead, but the meanest thing that my dad...
On stage at San Quentin, the band improvised in real time while Cash glanced at the paper at his feet. The audience went absolutely wild. Every laugh in the recording is genuine. The live take hit number one on the country chart for 5 weeks and climbed to number 2 on the Hot 100, Cash's highest ever pop position for a song rehearsed for 0 minutes, performed for the first time in front of prison inmates.
A bottle of booze.
Number 7, Behind Closed Doors, Charlie Rich, 1973.
My baby makes me proud.
A songwriter was watching the Watergate hearings on television, and that's how one of the sexiest songs in country music history got written.
She never makes a scene by hanging off.
It was 1972. Kenny Odell had spent nearly a decade trying to catch a break in Nashville. Night after night, the news was flooded with Watergate coverage, reporters repeating the phrase, "Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors." Odell heard that line, grabbed a guitar riff he'd been carrying for 2 years, and flipped the political into the personal. What if it wasn't a scandal behind those doors, but a love story? He took it to producer Billy Sherrill, who was working with a silver-haired singer named Charlie Rich, a man Sam Phillips once called the most talented musician I've ever seen, who had spent a full decade bouncing between labels without a single hit. Sherrill tweaked the final verse to make it more suggestive. Some radio stations banned it, and none of that stopped a thing. Behind Closed Doors hit number 1, spent 20 weeks on the chart, went platinum, and swept the Grammy, CMA, and ACM Song of the Year awards. All for a song born from a political scandal and a guitar riff its writer had almost thrown away. After the checks cleared, Odell ran into Sherrill in an alley behind the studio. Sherrill asked what he was doing with the money. Odell smiled and said, "Paying for 9 years of poverty." Number 6, Always on My Mind, Willie Nelson, 1982.
Maybe I didn't love you.
The song was written because a man was late coming home from a work trip and his wife was furious.
And give me.
It was 1970. Songwriter Wayne Carson was stuck in Memphis on a session that had stretched 10 days past schedule. When he called his wife to say it would be even longer, she let him have it. He told her she was always on his mind, and the phrase hit him so hard he wrote 2 verses before the call ended. The song floated around Nashville for years, mostly ignored. Elvis Presley recorded it in 1972 during his divorce from Priscilla. DJs across the country assumed it had been written specifically for him, but his label buried it as a B-side. A decade passed. Willie Nelson tried recording it as a duet with Merle Haggard. Haggard turned it down, so Nelson recorded it alone and later wrote, "It bowled me over the moment I heard it."
You were always on my mind.
The 1982 version spent 21 weeks at number 1 on the country chart, crossed to number 5 on the Hot 100, and swept 3 Grammy Awards, plus back-to-back CMA Song of the Year in 1982 and 1983. Written in a panic on a work phone call, recorded by Elvis during a divorce, turned down by Haggard, and resurrected a full decade later into one of the greatest country recordings ever made. That's The Long Way Home.
I guess I never told.
Number 5, The Chair, George Strait, 1985.
Well, excuse me.
Hank Cochran and Dean Dillon had been writing songs all night long when Dillon looked up at 4 in the morning, struck a G chord, and sang completely off the top of his head. "Well, excuse me, but I think you've got my chair." Cochran stopped and stared. "Have you written that song?" Dillon said no, Cochran said. "Well, we're about to." 45 minutes later, they had one of the cleverest pickup line songs ever written in country music. The song follows a man who uses a chair as a pretext to start a conversation, buying drinks, asking to dance, driving her home, then admits at the very end, "That wasn't my chair after all." Sharp, subtle, charming. But George Strait almost never got it. A songwriter friend drove past Dillon's house on Music Row and yelled out the car window that he needed songs for a new kid from Texas. Dillon shouted back that they had one they were pitching to Johnny Paycheck. "But he's in jail, so we'll give it to you." That new kid from Texas was George Strait. The Chair hit number 1 in December 1985, spent 3 months on the chart, and was later named by CMT as one of the 100 greatest country songs of all time. Born at 4 in the morning, written in 45 minutes, and almost handed to a man sitting in a prison cell.
Oh, you're welcome. Well,
Number 4, Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys. Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson, 1978.
Cowboys ain't easy to love and they're harder to hold.
This song started with a man who couldn't pay his restaurant bill.
They'll never stay home.
In 1976, songwriter Ed Bruce was at lunch in Nashville when he realized he had outspent his wallet. Driving home, he thought about the struggle of being a musician, good at what he did, but unknown. The line that came to him was, "Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to play guitars." Then he changed it. Cowboys, he recorded his own version. It reached number 15. Good, but not great. Then Waylon Jennings heard it, recorded it himself, and still wasn't satisfied. He called Willie Nelson and said plainly, "Willie, I cut this thing, but I ain't sure about it." Nelson added his voice, and suddenly 2 of the most restless, reckless outlaws in country music were warning your mother about men exactly like them. The Waylon and Willie version hit number 1 in March 1978 and stayed for 4 consecutive weeks, winning the Grammy for Best Country Duo Performance. Rolling Stone later ranked it among the 200 greatest country songs of all time. 2 legends, 1 unpaid restaurant tab, and a phrase that changed everything.
Your babies grow up to be cowboys.
We're down to the final 3, and trust me, the stories only get heavier from here. If you've made it this far, you already know this isn't your average countdown. If these stories are hitting the way we think they are, drop a comment below and tell us which one surprised you the most. We read every single one. And if you're not subscribed to Old Trails Archive yet, hit that button right now. We go deep on the real stories behind country music every single week, the kind of history that doesn't make the highlight reels. This is where the trail gets interesting. Let's finish this. Number 3, He Stopped Loving Her Today, George Jones, 1980.
He said, "I'll love you till I
George Jones called this song a morbid son of a bitch and refused to record it.
see no tears."
It was 1978. Jones was a walking disaster, drinking Jim Beam by the case, battling addiction, going bankrupt, nearly institutionalized. His career had stalled. Then producer Billy Sherrill brought him a song that songwriters Bobby Braddock and Curly Putman had started during a session built around funeral jokes. The concept, a love so total that only death itself could end it. Jones hated everything about it. He told Sherrill it was too long, too sad, too depressing. He kept confusing the melody during recording. He slurred the spoken bridge. The sessions dragged across 2 full years.
Every single high low.
Before releasing it, Jones looked Sherrill dead in the eye and said, "Nobody'll buy that morbid son of a bitch." He Stopped Loving Her Today hit number 1 in July 1980 and stayed for 18 weeks. It won Jones back-to-back CMA awards and is now universally regarded as the greatest country song ever recorded. Jones later wrote, "A 4-decade career was salvaged by a 3-minute song, The Man Who Refused to Record It. Almost out of chances, saved by the song he almost never sang."
He was all dressed up to go away.
Number 2, The Gambler, Kenny Rogers, 1978.
On a warm summer's eve.
The man who wrote The Gambler was working the graveyard shift as a computer operator when the idea came to him, and the song sat rejected in Nashville for 2 full years before it became a legend.
Out of reading people's faces, knowing what the
Don Schlitz was 23, broke, and walking home from a meeting on Music Row in 1976 when the entire song formed in his head during a 20-minute walk. No guitar, no paper. He spent 6 weeks wrestling with the ending before deciding The Gambler would simply die quietly, implying death rather than stating it. He took it everywhere. Bobby Bare recorded it, didn't chart. Johnny Cash recorded it at the same session as Rogers, argued with the producer, gave a flat performance, and the version was shelved. Schlitz recorded it himself, peaked at number 65. Rogers even tried to give the song to Willie Nelson, who turned it down. So Rogers recorded it himself, despite whispers on Music Row that at 40 he was past his peak.
So we took turns staring out the window at the dog.
Gambler hit number 1 on the country chart in 1978, crossed to number 16 on the Hot 100, and won Rogers a Grammy for Best Country Male Vocal. Schlitz won Grammy for Country Song of the Year, and finally quit his computer operator night shift for good. The song Nobody Wanted, recorded by a man everyone had written off, became a cultural landmark that defined a career. You gotta know when to hold 'em.
He broke even, but in his final words,
Number 1, Jolene, Dolly Parton, 1973.
Jolene, Jolene, Jolene,
Do you think you know this story? You don't.
Jolene, 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 Jolene.
Everyone knows Jolene is about a beautiful woman Dolly feared would steal her husband. But who Jolene actually was is the part most people have never heard. The woman at the center was real, a red-haired bank teller who was apparently very attentive to Dolly's husband, Carl Dean, every time he came in to make a deposit. Parton told NPR he just loved going to the bank because she paid him so much attention. It was kind of like a running joke between us. But the name Jolene didn't come from the bank teller. It came from a little girl, maybe 8 years old, who came backstage one night for an autograph. Parton asked her name. The girl said, Jolene. Parton started repeating it out loud and told the child right there, "That sounds like a song. I'm going to write a song about that." She wove the name around the real jealousy she felt, and the song came together fast.
Jolene, Jolene, please.
Jolene hit number 1 in February 1974 and launched a run of 5 consecutive number 1s for Parton. It was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame and has been covered by hundreds of artists across every genre. Dolly has confirmed she wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You on the same day. 2 number 1s, one afternoon. A bank teller with long legs and a little girl with a beautiful name. That's the old trail story.
Jolene,